Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody's doing well today. We're wearing purple because of the Pike County Bulldogs fighting hard, and they play for the championship of 3A basketball and the right to go to Birmingham next week. Wouldn't that be something?
Well, our local basketball has had a really good year. We know all about Pike Liberal Arts. Charles Henderson girls are the favorites to win the state championship. The boys were young but good. And then you just mentioned Pike County High School. Do we know how's Goshen done?
They're out of the playoffs, but they had a good year, both boys and girls. The progression, despite the pain it meant Saturday, could bode well for 2021. The Pike Liberal Arts Patriot boys basketball team has taken an extra step each of the last 3 years. The Patriots went to the quarterfinals before in 2018 and lost in the semifinals, and the Saturday 64-47 loss to Tuscaloosa Academy. They are the runner-up in 2020 in Class 3A basketball. Quite a compliment for the Patriots, and this team from Tuscaloosa dominates every year. But let me tell you something: look out for the Patriots.
Well, I mean, a lot of the baseball players are apparently on the basketball team. The baseball coaches the basketball team. The baseball team has won back-to-back state championships. The basketball team is getting to the Final Four and now the finals every year. That says a lot about Pike Liberal Arts. That's two of the big three sports, baseball and basketball, they're excelling at. And the girls made it to the Final Four as well, Mike.
No question about it. The Patriots, 6, 10, and 11, were in the championship round for the first time ever before last year's semifinal loss. Pike had been in the semifinals just once, and that was in 2002. Next year, playing under such pressure, it won't be new. And of course, coached by Alan Ponder, who is an excellent coach. He's the same guy that coaches the baseball team, and admitted. That game ended, they started practicing baseball.
I wonder if he played baseball in high school. I understand he was one of the top players in baseball in college and high school in the state.
Well, they say that Alan Ponder was one of the best athletes to ever go through the Alabama Independent Schools.
So he played all of them, yeah.
And went to Alabama on scholarship, and he also played some pro ball and baseball, and was an excellent basketball player. Tuscaloosa Academy finished at 22-4, and of course the Knights lost to Bessemer Academy last year, and so on Saturday, Tuscaloosa Academy led just by 37-35. After 3 quarters. Boy, the Patriots played them tough, didn't they?
Sure did.
Trailing only by 2 going into the fourth quarter. And the Patriots were led by Drew Nelson, the fine sophomore, and a 9th grader named Austin Cross, who scored 14 points. And he's the son of the Troy University basketball coach. And you take those 2 guys and throw in Justin Christian, who had 12 points. Look out for the Patriots in the future. They're going to be really good.
Watch out for them in the present and in the future. It bodes well. Now we just got to see what they got in football, if they get their football up to that level.
Need to hire a coach first, don't you? Good morning, y'all. Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, morning.
Where you calling from, sir?
Drayton Beach, Florida. It's a little rainy this morning.
That's a little old hole in the wall down there, isn't it?
Something like that.
And of course, that's Mike Amos, whose dad's the famous announcer for Charles Henderson football in Troy, Alabama.
His dad is.
It used to be.
His dad is famous for a lot of things. Who was it? No less an authority than Sim Bird yesterday said he's the most influential alumni maybe in the history of Troy University.
So kind. He was so kind.
And I would say I would challenge anybody to find an alumnus of Troy University who has done more for Troy University. I'm not talking about just writing one or two checks. I'm talking about getting involved in every project to help it be a success.
He's the mayor of Crow Hill. He forces everybody to put white lights.
He forces them. How did
that turned out pretty good. It's a famous tradition.
Yeah, sure. I forced
Tim sounded really good yesterday. It's the first time I've heard him in a long time.
He did look good and talk well.
He sounded well. I hadn't heard him in a long time.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I've been hearing. I was too young to watch Sim play. But, I mean, he talked about his hero was Joe Namath coming up.
Right.
But I've just, my whole life, I've just heard Sim Bird story after Sim Bird story.
Yeah, you're right. He was
closely followed by, and I remember him, Mike Turk stories. But I think I've heard more Sim Bird stories than Mike Turk stories.
You know, Sim went to Robert E. Lee High School in Montgomery and signed with Georgia, and things didn't work out, so he left to go to school at Troy. And then they found out that he was on campus and playing for the Pi Kappa Phi fraternity. Got him to come out, and 3 years later, they won a national championship. And what a great player he was, no question.
And he's got Troy in his blood. We talked about that yesterday. He like all these guys, once they finished playing for Troy, they didn't suddenly become indifferent to Troy. They still followed and supported Troy, and that's been important, hasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. No question.
Sim and Driscoll Colquitt are first cousins, aren't they?
That's right. They sure are. In fact, they were visited each other just recently.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Charlie Strong, the former South Florida coach, Louisville coach, Texas coach, is in Tuscaloosa again today. Coach Saban's trying to hire Strong as an analyst, and everybody's complaining about why won't you hire Charlie Strong as your defense coordinator? You know, the golden guy, is like 36 years old. That was defense coordinator at Alabama, and the defense struggled last year. And, it's kind of hard to believe that Charlie Strong would go from being a head coach. He was a defense coordinator on both the national championship teams at Florida.
I'm sure he's drawing.
I wouldn't have a problem with him being the coordinator.
Yeah, I'm sure he's drawing a bunch of money as when you think he's still getting paid.
He's one of those many coaches that is still getting $100,000 checks every month.
They're also saying that Steve Sarkisian leaves to become the Colorado coach, that Saban would go to Liberty and get Hugh Freeze to come to Tuscaloosa and be the offense coordinator.
Oh, is that being seriously considered, Mike?
You mean that Hugh Freeze would leave a head coaching job?
Well, I mean, just think of the exposure. You'd probably make about $1.7, $1.8 million as offense coordinator, and then you're basically on television every single game. I mean, that might lead to a bigger job than Liberty.
Yeah, you're right.
But so you've read stories that say Sarkisian is one of the main contenders for the Colorado job?
Yeah, him and Butch Jones both were candidates.
All right, there you have it. From Michael Amos, he knows his stuff.
Apparently there was a horrible wreck in NASCAR last night. I didn't know about this till later. I was seeing people post on Facebook that Ryan Newman was airlifted from the actual Daytona 500 to the hospital and is in intensive care. So hopefully Ryan Newman, who's a pretty well-known NASCAR driver, will be okay.
Yeah, it was last lap, and it was a fiery crash.
Was it some kind of race or practice?
No, it was
the Daytona 500 didn't finish till yesterday.
Yeah, so they were rained out for the weekend.
I missed it. Okay.
And the guy that wins had won it before, Mike.
Yeah, I think Denny Hamlin won.
Denny Hamlin was first. Ryan first in a Toyota. Ryan Blaney was second in a Ford. Chris Boucher was third. Listen to this, Mike. Golly. Toyota was first, but Ford was second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, or sixth. 6 Fords were ahead of Chevrolet.
Well, I'm looking at a picture in the advertiser of the finish of the race, and that crash happened. He wasn't very far behind the lead.
You're exactly right.
I mean, they're waving the checkered flag, and his car is upside down, 2 car lengths behind the leader.
Boucher was third. David Reagan in a Ford was fourth. Kevin Hardwick was fifth, and Clint Boyer was sixth in Fords. All right, then there was a Chevrolet and so.
Newman, they said it's in serious condition, but doctors indicate his injuries are not life-threatening.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. The Chevrolet had Brendan Gaha in seventh, and then comes Corey LeBlanc and Ryan Newman, who was in the wreck, was still finished ninth in a Ford. I don't know how that happened.
Well, he skidded across the finish line.
Yeah, that's right. You're exactly right.
I can look in that picture right there and see that momentum, that car is going to keep spinning and rolling over until it crosses the finish line.
Exactly right. No question.
Gosh, I just missed that.
Back when I was growing up, everything dealt with Ford and Chevrolet. You were either a Ford man or a Chevrolet
Jack
man.
Roush is a Ford man that
That's
we
right.
all know in Troy.
Yeah. But, of course, there was a big race, and a lot of people took off work. They had to, I reckon, on Monday to see the race. Want to mention basketball, and these are the championship round now. And first in Southeast region, we'll give you the report on that. Is Leo Montgomery 30-1 will play crosstown rival Jeff Davis.
Wow.
On Tuesday. That's today at.
Is that the semifinals or the finals?
Yeah, this is the.
Must be semifinals.
This is the championship of the regional.
Oh, I got you. To go to the final.
Yeah, these four teams will go from each region to play
Birmingham.
in Birmingham to play for the championship. Okay, the Southeast region has Leah Montgomery, like I said, playing Jeff Davis. In 6A, we go all the way to 6A and pick up Eufaula, who is playing for the championship today against Sidney Lanier. Eufaula 26-5, Lanier 14-13. They'll play in the game today at 2:15, and the winner goes to Birmingham. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then Class 5A, we're I could give you a report on all of the teams, but I'm just going to give you the Southeast region. Greenville was beaten by Ramsey, so now Ramsey 24-8 versus Sylacauga 23-8. So,
of course, the Charles Henderson girls beat Ramsey in a game that a lot of people think might have been between the two best teams in the state.
In fact, we'll report on that right now. The girls from Charles Henderson High School have just been dominating everybody. They beat Ramsey in the semis 49-40, and now they'll play the winner they'll play Sylacauga, who beat Valley. So Charles Henderson 26-0 versus Sylacauga 10-16. That's today or tomorrow at 9 a.m.
10-16 in there in the Final Four.
That's right. So I would think that Charles Henderson will cruise in to that championship.
They're playing a team of the charmed season.
Yeah, that's right. But the girls from Charles Henderson are really, really good. And
I haven't seen them. I ought to kick myself for not seeing them.
26-0 going into the championship of the region. And in the region, let's see let's look ahead. That would be sort of crazy, but let's look ahead. In the regions in 5A, let's see if I can find that. 5A. The other teams that they'll have to look at will be the winner of the Madison Academy West Point game.
They're probably good.
And also the winner of Boaz and Center Point. So those are the...
Boaz, that's where they have the... they have one...
Unclaimed baggage is in Scottsboro. They have one of Boaz, too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Scottsboro, the main ones in Scottsboro. Now let's look at our own Pike County Bulldogs, Mike, and they'll be playing for the right to go to Tuscaloosa. This is a great honor for a good basketball team. Pike County defeated Pike Road of Montgomery 77-73 in overtime.
Wow.
So the winner, listen to this. I'm sure they played each other. Dadeville 41-38 over Providence. So is Pike County going up against Dadeville? Dadeville's 19-7. Pike County's 21-6. They play Wednesday at 12:30.
Where are they playing?
In Montgomery, and they play at the
Crimson Bowl?
What it is, Crampton Bowl facility there in Montgomery. So that would be great.
How many people does that place seat, Mike? You just did a game there.
It really doesn't seat a real lot. I would say probably 300 or 400 at the most.
Doesn't that seem small to have a big regional basketball?
I know it, but it seems to have worked pretty well.
You remember when they would have
I'm thinking that's where they play.
Those regionals in Troy, as Michael said, they would have Jeff Davis play Selma or somebody, and it would
they're
be
renovating the Coliseum to start playing there again.
all right.
But,
so they got no.
all right, looking at some other teams locally, and this is in boys. Arrington got beat by Geneva County of Hartford, 60-34. Gosh, Geneva County must be pretty good. And Barber County beat Daleville 84-59. So Geneva County of Hartford 26-5 versus Barber County 24-10. They'll play today at 5:15 for the right to go to Birmingham. So that's in boys play. And I was going to try to find some other local scores that we need to pass on to everybody.
Amazing that Charles Simpson girls and Pike County boys still have to win 3 games to win a state championship.
It's not easy, is it?
Right, yeah. So those are the local games. Here we go right here too. In the girls 2A bracket, Geneva County of Hartford again, Mike. They beat Reeltown bad, and they played G.W. Long, 47-32 victories over Sampson. So it's Geneva County of Hartford, 25-5 versus G.W. Long of Skipperville, 25-5. Mike, it just goes to show you that Geneva County has a good program, of Hartford. All right. Also, the last group of people we want to discuss is Elba in girls basketball in Class 1A. Elba beat Westminster. They beat the winner of the Westminster Old Mountain game. And they play. Elba plays the winner of the Oak Mountain Westminster game, and we don't know that yet. But Elba, if they win, goes to the Final Four in Birmingham.
Well, Elba's still alive. That's the headline.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, before Oak Mountain and Coach Irons beat Charles Henderson in baseball, but then Charles Henderson bounced back and beat Opelika.
Yeah.
Hey, wow, that's impressive.
That's right. Now, from the reports I get, and Charles Henderson is always going to be good, but the reports I get is that Charles Henderson might not be as strong as they've been in the past. They've got this Lee kid, Mike, who is a phenom, what I should say, plays center field for Charles Henderson, but he's out for the year.
Oh, man.
He got hurt, and he is a great player.
Has he got eligibility left?
Yeah, and not only is he a center fielder, but he's also a pitcher. He's been looked at by everybody.
Is he a senior?
You don't see too many kids get injured for baseball. I mean, how did that happen? That's weird.
I don't know. I need to get a report on it. But that has hurt their hopes. They still got some quite good players, and to watch, and but they play in a tough league. There's no question about it.
Well,
Yeah, the Stallworth kid, he's a young pitcher that's really good.
No, he's transferred to Pike Liberal, Mike.
Oh, he's a Pike Lib too.
Yeah, he just recently transferred to Pike Lib along with the Billy's son.
The Jeffco kid.
Jeffco, yeah.
I got a lot of buzz in Troy.
That's not a good sign for.
The only bad thing about that is they're going to have a hard time finding a place to play at Pike. Pike's loaded, and they just loaded the hill.
That's first year coach coming in. That's interesting. The two kids like that would leave right before the season, but Charles Henderson must be decent. I mean, Opelika's a 7A school.
Yeah, they're going to always be good. They're Troy, Mike. Troy baseball goes hand in hand.
I wonder if that affected Pine Liberal Arts baseball as far as getting ready with Ponder having to coach basketball this late.
It probably did a little bit, and they'll be playing soon, no question about it.
They're probably going to be playing right now, I would think, if Charles Henderson's already playing.
No question about it.
Don't you think these kids can pick it up in a week, though? The transition.
Troy baseball has really taken off. They won their first 4 games, and they scored 20 points in 3 of the 4 games they played.
Yeah, I was looking. It looks like they're probably going to get rained out today, so I wouldn't be driving to Tuscaloosa because I'm looking at the Tuscaloosa weather, and that game was supposed to be at 3 o'clock. 60% chance of rain at 3, 60% at 4, and then 80% at 5, and then 80% the rest of the night in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that's going to get called off and replayed.
Probably will.
Man, it's been a rainy winter, hasn't it?
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah, February's been all over the map. It's usually really
flooding.
beautiful down here, but it's been a lot of rain, and it's going to get really cold by the end of the week. It's going to be back in the low 30s again.
Yeah, I was talking to Max Howell, and where he lives up in up in Fulton, Mississippi, which is I would say north central Mississippi. They called and told him yesterday that 2 houses across the street from his house were washed away. So he's got to fight that flood himself, and he lives on the river out there, and they've had just tremendous rain showers. And
He said he's on the Tennessee Tom Bigby, isn't he?
That's right. And it's really, really flooding. I haven't been down to the river here in Troy, but if you ever want to judge how high the water is, go there after a rain.
Yeah.
It looked like a lake the last time I was down there.
And it goes on for a mile beyond the river, doesn't it? There's just
The
water all.
Conecuh River, you can get on that Conecuh River and go all the way to Mobile. A lot of people don't realize
I was wondering, in Troy, that Conecuh River, you got that house on 231 sitting high up on that hill. Whose property was that?
That's
Gilmore's?
Gilmore's. You're exactly right. George Gilmore.
Okay. Yeah, I was always wondering who was up there on top of that hill.
They've had that house. That's where little George was raised.
When I was a high school senior, end of the year, they had a canoe race of all things in the Conecuh River.
Did they really?
From Troy going to Goshen. And for some crazy reason, my friend Scott Rainey and I said, let's do it. And I remember we stayed out way too late on the night before, spent the night at somebody's house. I'd never been in a canoe in my life. And just surviving those 10 miles was just, it was a terror. I mean, I was never been happier to finish something. I thought I would just get in the canoe and the current would just take me down. That was my picture. There's trees across that river every 50 yards. So you got to get out, lift up the canoe over the trees. And I'm constantly thinking about alligators and snakes. Hot as could be. Pumped over the canoe about 8 times. Needless to say, we finished last in the canoe race on the Conecuh River. But I have canoed in the Conecuh River.
You have.
The stories you remember.
Yeah, no question about it.
I'll tell you how bad we were. We were strong, strapping high school seniors, and Scott's daddy, Jack Rainey, was the banker at the bank, and one of his friends at the bank, they beat us in the race.
Oh, did they? Mike, I was looking at 7A games.
Only canoe stories I have is when we were in junior high. We used to have the canoes on Lake Lagoon, and a few of us got in trouble a few times for knocking over our canoes and falling in the water.
Hey, man, they are really starting to clean up that lagoon. I mean, I guess that's the next phase of the beautification project of the campus. But they're making trails and clearing out brush. It's not where they want it, but I can see one day that little area is going to be as pretty as some of the other areas of the campus.
No question. Mike, I was looking at 7A basketball. It has Fairhope 23-4 against Mary Montgomery 20-6. Mary Montgomery must be good. They upset McGill, knocked them out. Robert E. Lee and Jeff Davis. Robert E. Lee 30-1. I'm sure will probably move on, because they have a great team. And then the Northwest region has Spain Park going up against your buddies over there at Mountain Brook. Mountain Brook is 30-2. They play at 10:45 today for the right to go to Birmingham. Spain Park and Mountain Brook, two colleges up in Birmingham, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, they won't play in Birmingham, though, because they're renovating the BJCC. Where will they play? Tuscaloosa?
I don't know.
Where's the Final Four going to be?
I really don't know.
Well, see, I said, so they're renovating the BJCC. I hear they're also renovating Garrett Coliseum in Montgomery. They're renovating Bryant-Denny Stadium. A lot of renovation going on.
I would like for
Yeah,
somebody.
I was just wondering, because, the project for the football stadium, Protective Life Stadium, is a part of the whole, plan of renovating the BJCC. The whole complex is going to be a part of it. So, I don't know. I don't know if they'll play in Tuscaloosa or play in Auburn Arena. I don't know where the Final Four will be. I have to look at that.
Find that out, please, for us. Again, that's your top four teams, it looks like. Robert E. Lee, and then probably Mountain Brook.
What about this? Why couldn't we get the Final Four in Troy sometime with that? They would love playing in Trojan Arena.
Yeah, I know it.
It'd be perfect
But,
size.
I don't know. Those state championship games probably have more than 6,000
Some of them
with it.
would.
The NFL Combine starts next week, and there's a lot of prop bets out there as far as how fast different people will run, and they're saying that Henry Ruggs, the kid out of Robert E. Lee, will be in the 4.2s, which will be incredible if that's what he runs at the NFL Combine. A lot of people are thinking he could even be below 4.2.
I read that same story, Mike, and people are saying that, but then somebody else threw in a quote that I thought was good. He said, always bet over, because these 40 times are always hyped much lower than they actually turn out when they run in the combine. Not always, but a lot of times.
There's also a prop, will Jalen Hurts run a 4.58 or be under a 4.58?
I think I'm afraid his stock's gone down, Mike. I don't think it's going to be a very hot commodity like we thought he would have been.
How did he do in the Senior Bowl? I was sick, I guess, with pneumonia, and I didn't. Did he do okay, Michael?
Yeah, he looked all right. I think Herbert was the one that was kind of the more impressive guy at the Senior Bowl. But it's interesting to see, some of these 40 times are predicted. Chase Young, that huge defensive end, I think he's like 6'5", like 275 pounds, that plays at Ohio State. But there's a prop if he'll be under 4.6. Can you imagine a guy that big running 4.6?
Yeah, you're right.
Scary.
That is unreal.
I think Jalen will beat the 4.58. He's fast, and he got faster. I think he lost some weight and got even faster.
There's no doubt I think Jalen Hurts could be a backup in the NFL, which, you can make good money and be a backup for 5-10 years.
He was, he'll never do it, but I like to think about what if Jalen Hurts had played, say, strong safety or H-back or something like that.
Yeah.
They got Jerry Jeudy, if he'll run a 4.4 or not.
It's like Tim Tebow. For some reason, he couldn't really make it as a quarterback in the NFL. But if he would have ever changed to tight end or H-back, I think he would have been something.
Yeah, Tebow's still playing AAA baseball with the Mets, and
I didn't know
apparently
that.
XFL teams tried to get him to come out and play football again, but he turned them down. I would think that eventually they'll have to put Tebow in the major leagues because he's been in the minors now for 3 or 4 years, but the ticket sales would be through the roof if they put him in the majors.
Yeah, you're right.
But he didn't have a great year last year, did he? I didn't follow him as closely as.
He didn't have a great year at all. Of course, everybody's talking about the cheating scandal in Major League Baseball, and all these Houston Astro players are having to come out and try to defend themselves and talk about the fact that that they didn't cheat, and then some of them are admitting they did cheat, and then some of them are saying that they're concerned about their safety this year. Major League Baseball has already made an announcement. Teams are threatening to hit players. Beanball, I guess. So there's already props out there now. How many times would Houston Astro players be hit this year by opposing pitchers?
Mike, tell me how exactly were they cheating? Were they stealing?
They were stealing signs. They had a system in the dugouts, from what I read, where they would hit like a drum to signal like a fastball or a breaking pitch, and then they had some kind of signal coming in from the outfield where the batter and the batter's box could see what was coming as well. It was kind of a crazy system, but apparently the Red Sox did the same thing because they had the same coach with the Astros. It was just a crazy situation, but I watched videotape, you can clearly hear the noise coming from the dugout.
So they were getting the signals from the catcher.
Yeah.
And then giving them.
Yeah, they were getting the signals. Yeah, what the pitch was going to be. Usually, baseball players, it's good enough to know if a fastball's coming.
A one bang would be a fastball. A two bang would be a curveball. A three bang would be a changeup, which would be very important.
So they knew what to lay off of, and they knew what they wanted to hit.
If you know what the pitch is coming, you got a lot better chance to hit it.
Here we go. You're at bat right now.
Yeah.
Y'all, all right, they're going to throw me a curveball, so let me see. Let me move up in the batter's box.
Also, there was some kind of light thing going on in the outfield or something, too. So, it was pretty amazing. But apparently, this is something that's been going on for years and years, and they finally just got called. Stealing signs has always been part of baseball, is what they say. So.
Were they getting them with a...
Cheating is cheating. How bad did all these guys cheat when they're on steroids for so many years?
Mm-hmm.
These guys, some of these guys went from hitting 30 home runs to hitting 60 home runs.
And there's some of our heroes that we don't want to think about that were probably doing it too.
I think the only guys that were literally legit, just great players, like Ken Griffey Jr. I think was just a phenomenal athlete. He wasn't a big muscle-bound guy. He was just a great swing and great player, and I think Chipper Jones.
I told you my Chipper Jones story though, didn't I? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to tell you what I saw when I went to see. I went to see Brian Meadows play the Braves. Got a press pass. Went with Angie Murphy. Got to go in the locker room before the game and after the game. The Braves locker room. There I see Chipper Jones without a shirt on. Good gosh, he looks like an NFL linebacker. I was just stunned.
Real muscular.
Yes. And that was right that's right when he was jacking 50 home runs, and so I made my own conclusions. I'll say that.
But he only hit 468 home runs. He wasn't like a Bonds. It was in the 700s.
Yeah.
But he went from 20-25 to suddenly up to 40.
All right, we're gonna put you on hold, Mike. Good morning, you on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, Mike, Will Matthews.
Hey, Will, I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll be right back. Of course, Will Matthews calling in from Ozark this morning. And now we have Mike and Will. Is that right? Hello.
I'm here.
You got me.
All right, we got the legendary Will Matthews on the air. What's been going on, Will?
Not much. I was at the
Good.
beach this weekend, and I went to the Mardi Gras parade down in St. Andrews. 75,000 people down there.
Golly. Now, have they already had the parade on the beach? Have they had that?
No, that's this coming Saturday.
Okay, yeah, at Pier Park, yeah.
That's too many people for me. The older I get, I want to be around fewer people.
It was
exactly.
it was an amazing crowd. They had all kinds of stuff set up, food and beverages and
Were you
whatever.
staying at the Yellow House? Were you staying at the Yellow House?
Yeah, I was at Sayside. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Will Matthews is our local attorney representing not only Ozark and Dale County, but all over.
And he's a judge here in Troy from time to time. Substitute judge.
Will's also is also our political analyst, along with Bill Rice Jr.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks to go, Will, before the primary. I guess who's going to win the Republican
Senate race.
side of the Senate?
I think it's going to be a runoff between Sessions and Coach Tuberville.
So Bradley Burns out of it.
Yeah, I don't think he right now he's polling at 15%.
Yeah.
He would have to make a huge push to get up there with them.
Didn't Trump just endorse Burns though?
No, he hadn't endorsed anybody.
Oh, I thought he came out and
Burns may be
and tweeted
Burns
about
may
it.
be. Well, all of them say they're for Trump, so who knows?
That's what's so funny to me is every Republican is they're just riding on Trump's coattails. Whatever Trump does, I'm for.
All right, tell us about the other side, the other with Moore and that bunch.
Moore's not going. He's running 5%. He'll come in 4.
Okay, who do you like
Yay.
in that race? That's going to be a good one. Who do you like in that race, Will?
Well, that's the one Moore's running against Byrne and Coach.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got
Now, what
the
about
wrong one.
our congressional race? Although that's not y'all's congressman in Ozark, is it? Coleman
Oh,
and
it is.
Troy
Oh,
King?
yeah. I think Jeff Coleman from Dothan is going to win that.
Boy, he spent some money, honey.
We had Troy King on our show recently.
I mean, how big is Cohan? You know, it used to be called Cohan, but it's not Cohan anymore, is it?
It's worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah. Oh yeah, it's they've got 500 offices
Oh man.
around the world. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Apparently they got all this military money. That's what they keep on talking about.
He does a lot of work for the government.
Yeah. So
He moved. His company moves.
his brother married me at Watercolor.
Yeah, he's an Episcopal priest.
Yeah, his brother is.
Yeah, John Coleman.
His company moves soldiers and airmen and Marines all over the country. So, of course, the military are transferring every 2 years. So you talk about the contract you'd want to have. That's the one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is awfully impressive to me what Tuberville's doing. You know, a guy that's never been in politics. You know, if he goes to a runoff with Sessions, you know, that'd be pretty amazing. You know, I see Tuberville down here at the beach quite a bit. I never thought he would do this well.
He would have won going away if Sessions hadn't been in the race.
Yeah.
All right, but who do you like here then?
I'd say it's going to be a runoff between Tuberville and Sessions, and then who knows? That'll be 4 weeks later.
And Coleman's in the Coleman's trying to take Roby's
Coleman.
seat. Is that right?
And King, and then there's a young lady that's.
This is Senate. This is Senate.
I'm talking about the House.
Coleman's going for Roby's seat, right?
Yeah. And
I mean, what's going to happen with Sessions? I mean, you know, of course, people in Alabama are going to look at what, you know, Trump and, you know, their relationship. You know, will Trump back Tuberville strong, or will he back Sessions? I don't know what will happen there. That's going to be really, interesting to see. I mean, everybody's going to beat Doug Jones. Doug Jones doesn't have a chance in the world.
Michael, the White House is not taking a position in that race. In that price mark, you know. Whoever wins is going to get Trump's endorsement.
yeah, okay. So he's not worried about that then, is he?
No, it's going to be a safe Republican seat.
Well, Will's son works for the Trump administration and got that job because of your contact and friendship with Jeff Sessions. Is that right?
Yeah, Sessions got him in the campaign, and then David basically he ran Trump's campaign in Pennsylvania, and that was a key state for Trump to win, and they didn't think they had a chance to win it, and they wound up winning it. And so David ended up, he's working in the agriculture department as Trump's liaison to the agriculture department.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know, something that gets me about Tuberville, of course, he's an outstanding coach and has a lot of name recognition, but he's not even from Alabama. He came out of Arkansas somewhere, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he coached at Miami to start with.
That's right.
And then he went to Texas A&M. He's working for R.C. Slocum.
That's right.
And then he went maybe Arkansas State or somewhere like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And he wound up at Ole Miss, and he's had a great record everywhere he's been.
Oh yeah, he's a good coach, no question. Now, Mike, he used to own part interest in the Florida, Alabama.
No, he used to own a little bit of old Florida Fish House.
Florida Fish House, which I thought was a very good restaurant. Is he still involved in that?
No, he's a family from Missouri owns it.
Didn't he always keep his house in Auburn, though? He seemed to like Auburn.
Yeah, he lives in Auburn.
His son goes to Lee Scott.
Blaney, and so does Pat Dye.
Pat Dye and Chiswick, and he goes on. Auburn has got a lot to offer.
Yeah, Pat Dye has got to be the head figure man in the automobile business now.
Really?
Well, that he represents the Kia the Kia automobile company, which is just a few miles from Auburn.
He runs he grows Japanese maples. I know that.
He does what?
He grows Japanese maple trees.
Oh, does he?
The big, fine, pretty ones.
And he sells them and all that.
Yep, and he also has hunting outings at his place where people come and stay, and kind of like Max
That's right.
cooks for. He's a character.
Yeah, he is.
You know, him and my father, believe it or not, were best friends when they played service ball at Fort Bennett.
Yeah.
And Dad back then was an avid fisherman and hunter, and so was Pat Dye. And when they weren't doing Army stuff or practicing football, they were in the woods or on some water.
And of course, Dye comes from a big family, all brothers, and the good people, really great family, no question about it.
Hey Mike.
Yeah.
If people have forgotten, Tuberville was 7-3 against Alabama the 10 years he was.
Yeah, let's see how that works. And I know Auburn folks love it, but how about that T-shirt that had
Fear the Thumb.
Yeah, the thumb. Yeah. What was that?
He got it too. Yeah, they beat Alabama 6 years in a row.
I know.
He regrets.
He got to go against the great Mike Shula, and then he went against I guess Franchione before that.
Uh-huh.
Right.
He hit it just right, but he regrets right now that showing that thumb after that 6th straight victory. You can understand it, and he's happy. I don't begrudge him it, but now as a politician, that probably cost him a lot of votes.
Mike, see if you get.
Well, maybe it did.
We were at the Alabama game, in his last game against Alabama, and he got beat 40-0.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this.
He got Sabanized.
Bud Casey and I went to a practice before, and Tuberville just told us, he said, this is it looks like it, because they were sending a plane up to Louisville to pick up your buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Reno.
He imploded.
And
Gosh.
then he told us that this would probably be his last practice before the Alabama game. So he took off his hat and he threw it to a young man that was in a wheelchair. And he said, that's the last hat I'll ever wear at Auburn.
Gosh.
But you know what?
He won the
got
game.
back and he got the job back, and then the streak started.
Yeah, he beat Franchione in Tuscaloosa with a 4th-string tailback. I remember that one well.
Yeah.
It was actually Franchione that was thinking about leaving. Then it was bolting to Texas A&M.
You know,
The next year, he went 13-0.
yeah. And,
Had a great team. Boy,
just think of the coaches that could have ended up at Alabama. Oh man, it's scary. And the one that
Hey, Mike, do you know who brought Tuberville down at Auburn?
Who?
You won't remember. Tony Franklin. He ruined Tuberville's career when he took over the offense at Auburn, and they never recovered. They even lost to Vandy that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they brought him in, and he actually won the bowl game against Clemson. He was coaching in Troy. They brought him in.
That's right.
And Franklin had controlled the offense just for a few weeks, and they won the bowl game. And then he had Todd come in, who was his hand-picked quarterback, who originally was going to Troy. And Todd just played horrible throughout that year. And then the next year, he actually had a decent year, I remember, his senior year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Franklin ended up, out at California, and he coached Jared Goff, the Rams quarterback.
Yeah, he's a great coach.
And when he was here, his office was in the Hawkins press box.
That's right. And he didn't shave, and he didn't
wear
comb
socks.
his hair, and he didn't care how he looked,
He was a character.
But a nice guy, really a nice guy.
I was watching Riviera. Man, that golf course was playing tough this weekend.
Well, it was on Sunday.
Well, the wind was blowing. When the wind blows out there, that's a very difficult golf course.
Hey, talking about prop bets, you can get some for the Masters. Will, I yield to you. Who are your early favorites to win the Masters this year? Justin Thomas have a chance?
I think McElroy's going to win it.
Okay.
I tell you what, there are a lot of good players. Everybody talks about Tiger coming back and all that. He might come back and play good golf, but the competition is unreal. There are 25 guys that could have a chance to win every week, don't you think?
Except Augusta. There's about 10, and you can about name the 10. And everybody else doesn't have a prayer because they choke when they go.
You know who I like a lot? Is Kuchar. He played real well this past week. Now something happened to the big guy. Do y'all know what the deal is on it?
Who's the big guy?
Dustin Johnson?
The other guy, the pretty guy.
Adam Scott?
Yeah, Koepka.
Oh, Koepka, yeah.
Yeah, that was his first tournament back.
I know, but something happened yesterday. Do y'all know anything about that?
I don't know. He had a knee injury he was coming back from.
Yeah, I don't know.
You got to look at Augusta. You got to look at Woods. Bubba Watson's won it twice. Spieth's won it.
Koepka.
Phil's won it 3 times.
Yeah.
Koepka's going to be in the mix. McElroy's going to be in the mix. Justin Thomas will be in the mix. Matsuyama's always a good golfer. He plays really well. I would say, well, you got to say the guy that won last week, Adam Scott's won the Masters.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's hard to bet against Tiger. It's like him and Nicklaus, when they get to Augusta, they just know how to play that course. And I think Will's right. When you get to that tournament, it's about 10 players that are going to be in contention.
Exactly right. Looks like Barry Moore is in the house. Is that right?
That's right, sir.
Barry Moore, Mike, a right-handed pitcher coming in here in a minute.
I remember him.
And we'll be talking a little politics this morning. Of course, Mike, Troy against Alabama today. Troy is red hot in baseball.
Yeah, I think that game will be canceled.
Yeah, well, now, if it was in Troy, it wouldn't be canceled. I sat in the rain and watched the whole ball game Sunday. But
I'm looking at 2020 Masters. Tiger Woods is plus 900. McElroy's plus 750. Dustin Johnson's plus 1600. Jordan Spieth's plus 2500. Koepka's plus 1200. Justin Rose is plus 2500. Rahm is another great player, plus 1100. Justin Thomas is plus 1400. And then you got other guys like Fowler, Jason Day, DeChambeau. Shockley's a great player too. And then Bubba's plus 3,500. So.
How about Rahm? How about him? Where is he?
Yeah, we mentioned Rahm. Rahm's only plus 1,100. He's way up there.
Yeah, I got you.
So McElroy is the odds-on favorite, the low man.
Yeah,
lowest odds.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got Barry Moore here this morning, and we're going to bring him in, and we're going to talk a little politics. when we come back.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
I was the first elected official in the nation to endorse Donald Trump.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, and on a Tuesday, already the 18th day of February, and ladies and gentlemen, we're heading down the stretch. We've got Barry Moore on our show. We had, and of course, he's running against Troy King and numerous other guys. Good to have you, my friend.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about what's happening in your life right now.
Well, we're pretty wide open. It's 2 weeks from a Republican primary, which is March 3rd. And I actually, I served 2 terms in the Alabama legislature and thought I was done with politics. I had term limited myself, and then on August 21st, 2015, I was the first elected official to endorse a guy by the name of Donald Trump in Mobile, Alabama. Y'all may have heard of him.
We have.
Yeah, and that huge rally, yeah.
Yeah, big rally. So what happened, I was in the legislature, and I term limited myself. I was rotating out. I was chairman of Military Veterans Affairs the last 4 years in the Alabama legislature, and I was a small business owner of enterprise and was going to go back and run my company, and some friends called and said, hey, Donald Trump's coming to Alabama. He'd like to meet with you. Well, the next day I was supposed to meet with Scott Walker. He was wanting my endorsement. He was the governor of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
And Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida, was in Birmingham, and they were both wanting my endorsement. So my wife and I went down to Mobile. She had followed Trump's family on Twitter and said, they're pretty normal people. I mean, they have a normal birthday party. He said, you raised some pretty good kids. Says, we at least need to go down and meet the man and hear what he's got to say. Yeah. Well, we went down and we were in a bus at the south end of Ladd People Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. And Joe Freeman, Trump, Alabama, comes on the bus and says, any of you guys willing to endorse Donald Trump today? Now, here was the trade-off. We could endorse him or we could hang out and just get our picture with him like about 150 other elected officials did. But my wife and I walked down the hallway of that bus and we just kind of gathered up and said a quick prayer and said, Lord, this is above our pay grade. We're going to need you to tell us what to do. And so we got a piece at that point to endorse a man who had no chance of winning. He had a 1% chance against 16 Republican primary opponents.
That's right. Yeah.
And we went in, we got a piece, we went down, went through the tunnel. I'll never forget, we were heading down the tunnel, Ladd People Stadium. Buddy of mine turned, he was another legislator. He said, Barry, he said, there's 4 of us about to speak to endorse this man. He said, do you want to go first or do you want to go last? He said, we'd like to start with a bang and finish with a bang. And I said, Ed, I guess I'll go first. So we went out on the stage, and the energy was incredible.
How many people would you say were there?
30,000 people. And we went up, and I just got a piece, and I just said what I said. I said, he looks like an outsider. I'd heard the debates. I saw a man that loved this country that didn't need a job, but we needed him to serve in that capacity. Right. And I knew he loved our military and he loved our country. And so I endorsed then a fellow who, like I said, had no chance of winning. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't doing it for political reasons. I was doing it because it was the right thing to do, I thought, at the time. And so.
And you weren't running again, so you really.
I wasn't running again. I still felt a little strange because I was going way out on a limb against a lot of my Republican friends, you know, who we had traditional Republican candidates who kind of had the mantle of the next president. And so to go against that and to go for an individual who was outside the system, but having been to Montgomery in the first Republican majority in 2010 when I got elected, I knew what it was like to drain a swamp. I'd waded through a minefield myself a few times. And so I'd learned a lot through that process. And I thought the only way we're going to change the deep state and the problems in D.C. is the same way we did in Montgomery, by sending people who are outside the system, who are not afraid to fight. So we endorsed him. I was a Trump delegate. And like I said, my daughter Kathleen was in Auburn, Alabama.
And Will was a Trump delegate.
That's right.
Is that right, Will?
Yeah, oh yeah. And my son got me involved just like his daughter got him involved. And I was a Rubio man. I'll just be frank with you. I met Marco down in Tampa back in 2012, and I liked him, and I told him I was going to support him, but my son said, no, he ain't going to get there.
Rubio, who is he? Where is he?
He's a senator in Florida.
I know it, but what I'm saying, he's just off the map.
No, well, he was a big-time favorite for a while,
Yeah.
He was running first or second until Trump, took off.
Yeah, and so
everybody said it was going to be Bush, Jeb Bush, or Marco Rubio was going to be the nominee.
Yeah, and boy, everybody was wrong.
So when you stepped out, you were the first one to step up.
First in the nation to endorse him, and I had already decided to run as a Trump delegate.
Yeah.
And my daughter was in Auburn, Alabama, at the age of 18. And she was so frustrated. She called her mom and says, I'm so tired of these Bernie Sanders bumper stickers. She says, I don't know what to do. And Heather said, well, honey, maybe you ought to consider running. So Kathleen ran as a Trump delegate in Auburn, Alabama, pretty well unopposed. Yeah. So when Trump got the nomination, her and I were both delegates to the National Convention, but we had the first in the nation to endorse him in our family, and the youngest Trump delegate in our family. And so it was weird kind of how we got pulled into the process. And so I was with the president 4 different times in Alabama. I spoke for his bus tour. I did everything I could to help that man get to the White House.
What kind of fella is Trump?
He is honestly more of a family man than you realize. I think he's got some New York tendencies. We see that. A friend of mine was deputy policy director at the White House, and he told me, he said the president would come down in the morning elevator and go, y'all see what I tweeted this morning? And he said a lot more.
He's probably the most egotistical president, but, he stands by what he says.
The interesting thing to me was he told us that day in Mobile, Alabama, he said, if I get this nomination, he said, guys, he said, I'm coming back to Alabama, and doggone if it wasn't the last stop he made on the way to the inauguration.
He is really good about that.
Does what he says he's going to do.
Exactly right.
And I appreciate it. You don't find many politicians anymore that do what they say they're going to do.
Barry Moore, why should you be the man for this position?
Well, I tell everybody this is election year 2020, and hindsight is what? 2020. And so I don't always ask people to don't look at what Barry Moore or what these elected political people tell you they're going to do. Look at my track record. I was the most dependable conservative vote in the Alabama legislature. I'm the only veteran in the entire race, the only Trump delegate in the race. And I've carried bills from thought processes for different constituents through paper, to committee, to law. And so we only got 4 more years of Trump if we elect him. So at the end of the day, don't elect me based on what I tell you I'm going to do. Look at my track record. I term limited myself. I walked away from that power to go back to run my business. And that's kind of
What is your business, Barry?
We're in the waste hauling business. I'm a garbage man. I still got my CEO. I tell everybody to transition.
Wait a minute. We got a garbage man here,
that's right.
Will. Yeah. And of course, he's an environmental
engineer.
Yeah,
that's what we like to call ourselves.
Were you born and raised in Enterprise?
I'm born and raised down there on a farm. Actually, I'm an ag science major. So somebody told me that, they said, man, you're the district. You're a veteran and an ag science major who's a Trump delegate. And I said, yeah, it is kind of a unique combination.
Graduate of Auburn University.
Yes, I went to Troy and transferred to Auburn when I decided to go ag science.
Yeah. And, of course, went to Enterprise High School.
Yes, sir, sure did.
And, of course, Will, do you know this guy, Will?
Oh, yeah. What are you talking about?
We know we've been around each other. We hung out at the convention a little bit. And I see him at different events.
Will is probably how many years in a row or terms in a row have you been a delegate?
I've been to. I went to Tampa with my first one, and then Cleveland. So, and I'm running this time. So if I get elected this time, it'll be 3 in a row.
Barry, let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
Living there in Enterprise, you're right next to Fort Rucker. Tell us how big and how important Fort Rucker is to our district.
Well, if you know anything about Alabama's economy, agriculture is number one, military is number two. And so when I was in the legislature, because I had the District 91, which was Coffee County at the time that bordered Fort Rucker, and I was a veteran, they put me as chairman of Military and Veterans Affairs. And so one of the things I always did was fought for our veterans. I carried the license reciprocity bill for military spouses. In other words, if you got a wife that cuts hair at Fort Benning and the military says, hey, you got to go to Fort Rucker. Well, if she didn't have an Alabama cosmetology license, that woman couldn't make a living.
Yeah, I like that.
So we put a reciprocity bill in place to allow her a temporary reprieve on that licensing process so they can make a living. Same with the Purple Hearts. If you see that parking space, I passed the bill that protects that by law to make sure that we protect that. In-state tuition for active duty military.
Robert K.T. Cole Jr., one of my close friends, is a big behind that Purple Heart.
Yes, sir. Well, he'll tell you Barry Moore carried the bill and got it passed the law. And also,
He's probably watching this morning. Call in, KT.
And I tell you, the thing that happened in that, I had a fellow that lived down the road from my office stop in. Mr. Green, he said, man, we need some help on this. He says, we got these signs, but there's no teeth. There's no law to protect those parking spaces. So we carried that bill. And you know, one of the things I'm proudest of, and this is something in the legislature we had to do, there was a time when the F-35 fighters, there was an opportunity to grab that reserve unit, and all the states across the nation were battling for it.
Yeah, I remember that.
They brought a package of 7 bills to my committee, Military and Veterans Affairs, and said, we need to get these out of committee to the floor and into a position to be signed into law by the governor. But the key to that was we had something in Alabama that nobody else had. The Red Tails, the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah,
so we went to the Democrats and said, hey, we will name them the Red Tails after the Tuskegee Airmen.
I remember that about you.
Yeah, so we got the jobs and the jets, and we got them named the Red Tails after the Tuskegee Airmen. So Alabama got those high-paying jobs.
You pulled off a coup right there.
We pulled off a coup and got that in this state
sure did.
of all places.
And the pride of the Red Tails lives on.
That's exactly right. Yes, sir. That's a great, great history our state has, and we should use those kind of things and work across the aisles when we have an opportunity to market Alabama, because we got some great, great stories behind this state.
And of course, your experience has a lot to do with it. And what do you feel like you've got to do to win this election? I mean, what's going to be the most important thing?
I think the thing that we have, I think, above and beyond any other campaign, and we've always done this with grassroots, we have always, when we were running for the state legislature, my wife, my daughters, my family, my friends, we knocked doors. We met people. They knew who we were. Mm-hmm. And so at a small scale, that was kind of back then, we knocked more doors, they said, than any state legislative candidate in the history of Alabama.
That's the key. Yeah.
And so we knocked those doors. But then when you get a little bigger district, when you got 15 counties, grassroots still matters. So we're ahead of everybody on Facebook with 9,500 on our Barry Moore Republican for Congress page. I maxed out on my personal page at 5,000 friends. But we have done something no other candidates have done. I've been to Claybank Jamboree, Covenant County Fair, Christmas on the Coosa, Mardi Gras Parade in Prattville. I'll be up there this weekend with Tompkins. So what we've done, my concern for us a lot of times is people try to buy races. They try to spend a bunch of money and tell you all this great stuff. But at the end of the day, if they won't come out and shake your hand when they need your vote, when they get in office, boys, they govern from an ivory tower. They don't care for the people.
I'll tell you a story about your predecessor. Martha Roby's a friend of mine. I know her. She was a city council person in Montgomery. Then she ran against Mayor Bright, was briefly the congressman. And I remember going to a Stanhope Elmore football game where my wife taught at the time. And there is Martha Roby, 2 hours before kickoff, shaking every hand of everybody at that high school football game. And that just goes to your story. That's the way you've got to do it.
You know, Barry, the thing, I reckon it's a sad thing in a way, is that most of you guys are friends, aren't you?
Oh, yes,
You've
sir.
known Troy King. And
I've known Troy a long time, and now I didn't know Jessica, but her husband, Brian Taylor, was a senator.
Yeah.
So I've known Brian for a long time. So Brian actually called a friend of mine and said, hey, if Jessica wasn't running, I'd be voting for Barry. You know, so that's kind of. But yeah, it's not to me, and this has been our campaign from the whole time. There's been some mudslinging, but it hasn't been from my candidates. My campaign, man. I've got a record to run on. I don't have to talk about anybody else. I can talk about my time in the legislature, my time as a veteran, my time as a Trump friend. And when you got a relationship with the White House, that helps bode well for the district.
Oh yeah, no question about it. I feel like Will's got a little contact there, and through his son, and Trump's. They tried to nail him to the wall with a lot of these things, but what he says, it turns out to be the right thing to do.
It really does. I was at the inauguration, and they said within about 9 minutes of the man being sworn in that they were going to impeach him. They didn't have a reason, but that was his goal. Yeah. That was the end goal. So, end of the day, I think the voters have to understand we can't do things based on what people tell us. We better send some people we know that have been with him from day one.
Barry Moore is a guest this morning, and Barry, you grew up in the Wiregrass, and of course, farming is one of the big issues. But enterprise is growing so fast that it's becoming enterprise is going to be another Dothan, it looks like.
Yeah. Well, it is growing, and I think in Alabama in general, we have land, labor, and climate that's conducive. Like I said, from auto industry, when we were in the legislature, we were instrumental in bringing Remington, the oldest firearms manufacturer in the country, to the state. Polaris to Alabama, Austell, companies like that. If we have people that can do the job and work and perform and we've got a climate that's pretty well. You can work year round down here. You don't have problems with freezing and that sort of stuff. And we've got a labor market that these people are very capable. We've pushed the tech training in schools, and so at the end of the day, we can market Alabama. Enterprise is doing well because we have Fort Rucker. And like I said, that's the thing that makes me love free markets and capitalism. I started out driving a garbage truck. I honestly bought an old Mack garbage truck, and from my wife and I built that company 24 years ago, and the Lord has blessed that. And so I just thought, Ronald Reagan said the government's idea on the economy is if it's moving, you tax it. If it keeps moving, you regulate it. If it fails, you subsidize it. If we can get the taxes and regulations out of the way, we don't need the government subsidies. The free market can fix the problems. We just got to give free market an opportunity.
That's right. Will, you got any questions?
I know. You're talking about buying an election. Martha Roby may have shook a bunch of hands, but she spent $2 million years ago.
That's true too.
I mean, if you get, and this guy in Dothan's going to spend probably, I haven't looked at it, but I'm sure he's spending, every time you turn around and see a commercial on TV. So, I mean, and most of the people that vote, you'll never be able to contact them. You won't see them. They're at work or they're whatever. It's hard to hit on 100,000 doors, but if it works, I've always heard Congress is the air game. Local, like House of Representatives, Senators, a ground game. You got to, go door to door. But I've always heard the one with the money always wins. Who knows?
Well, that was true. I think at one time. I think the way Trump ran his rallies, though, Hillary outspent him. Quite a bit. But the way Trump reached the people, but he was popular. He could draw a crowd, so that sure helped.
This is what tickles me that Bloomberg's running, and they say, "Don't let another billionaire buy the election." Trump didn't buy the election. Trump spent very little money.
That's exactly right.
Trump spent very little money.
Trump got more free advertising and airtime than any candidate ever. Yeah,
his Twitter account was amazing. They said he would tweet something, and in the war room, every single network would pick it up.
He's the first politician that really took advantage of. Think how many people that we need to,
they're all different now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm a political science major and used to be really into it. Now I'm not into it as much, but because the reason you said, Will, it just almost seems like people put out a few TV commercials with, I love America, and that's the extent of the campaign. Where it used to be, people would go have stump meetings on the town square. You'd have debates. You'd talk in depth about issues. You had more newspapers. They'd ask you tougher questions. But it's so, just surface level now. And so you're trying to break through that,
right,
I guess.
We are. And, don't get me wrong. We're the second highest spender in the race. We've raised a lot of money, but not nearly not the tenfold that we've been outspent. But at the end of the day, that support is shallow if there's no substance behind it. So you can put your face up on a billboard or by radio time, and I'm not critical of that. Everybody has to do that to get your message out. But at the end of the day, there needs to be more to you, more substance to that. So we're doing a town hall. We're going live at a town hall next Monday night, and it's going to be 50 people in the building. Live, and we'll be cutting breaks, and then we'll be taking questions, my wife and I, directly and online, just so people can ask and talk. Let's get to know.
I got a question for you. Is there one issue you think isn't being talked about enough, or that people are missing out on, that's important to this country or our district?
Yeah, I think the national debt has to be something we address pretty quickly, because I think that's the key. I've talked to a number of congressmen. I was actually with the Freedom Caucus the night before the impeachment started. Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, those guys were defending our president early on and have. But we were talking about the debt issue, and one of the things that really drives me crazy, and I hope one of the first bills we can talk about with the president, is a bill that if we don't pay our soldiers, Congress doesn't get paid. Because I get so tired of these temporary budgets, these continuing resolutions where they just pass just temporarily. But if you don't sign this terrible bill, we're not going to pay your soldiers, and Congress gets paid right along. So I'm so tired of them playing those games. I know the president was very upset with the first budget he had to sign. So.
How many counties do you represent?
15. Currently, I'm out of office because I served in the Alabama legislature. But this congressional district's 15 counties. Yeah. Yes, sir.
It goes from where? About
Prattville, up Millbrook area, all the way down to Geneva County to the Florida line, and then from west over on I-65 about Evergreen, all the way east to basically over just east of Dothan into
Dickinson's old area for so many years, and military of course is huge in this area. Yes, with Fort Rucker and then the Maxwell and Gunner and.
I want to applaud you on talking about the debt, though. I mean, I keep up with that. It's $1.3 trillion, I think, right now. American government is printing money like they have never printed money in its history. And this is supposedly great economic times, not really any major wars. At some point, that is going to bite America in the butt.
That $1.3 trillion is this year. It's a total of about 22.
Over 24 billion.
I was talking about the deficit this year.
Yeah. And like you said, I don't know that you can grow out of that. But at the end of the day, Dan Crenshaw right now, he's former Navy SEALs, got a fantastic bill that's called the Year-End Fiscal Responsibility Act, where what we have done in the past is we have said, okay, government, department, agency heads, if you don't spend all the money this year, you lose it. Yeah. And so that's basically like telling your children, we're going to give you an allowance this week, and if you don't spend it all, you don't get none next week. So that's that's how we're governing. But Crenshaw's got a bill now where we start with zero-based budgeting, and we don't penalize these department heads and agencies for not spending, because in the year they're wasting money. And it's money you and I got to figure out how we're going to pay it.
Let me ask you a tough question, Barry. How do you answer this? The debt and the deficit seems to grow even bigger with the Republicans in charge.
Well,
have you heard this phrase, Republican in name only, Rhino?
Oh, no, sir. I've never heard that. I don't know what you're talking about. I have battled those guys in Montgomery time and time again. And what happens, we really do have a lot of Republican name only. That's why Donald Trump is president of the United States right now, is because we continue to allow people to run on the Republican ticket who were not conservative and who didn't represent the people. And at the end of the day, they just said, okay, is enough. We're going to elect an outsider to the system. But of course, he is fighting a battle, and that's why there is so much pressure being applied. But at the end of the day, I think we've got a lot of people in government who get up there and enjoy the gravy train and forget about where they came from. Yeah. One thing I can say, when I was labeled the most dependable conservative vote in the Alabama legislature under a Republican supermajority, so there was no question where I stood. The lobbyists would come in, and then eventually there's no need of talking to him because he's going to do this, this, and this. They just knew I was going to govern on principle.
Who are some of your political heroes besides Donald Trump?
Well, I think, Ronald Reagan obviously has to be in the top. I think Thomas Jefferson was probably one of the founding fathers that I look up to a great deal. I think I went to Monticello, and I still have a $2 bill I got up there. It's all I got left after my daughter got married. But I got that $2 bill. And so he to me, he is an amazing example of a brilliant man who sacrificed so much.
All right, let's look at your area. And, of course, Roby always was strong in the Montgomery area, Prattville, Montgomery area. Of course, you're down here with Coleman in the
Wiregrass proper
Enterprise, Wiregrass. You've got to try your best to get into the runoff. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct. We want to make the runoff. That's what we want to
And
do.
then you feel like then you can
Then
work from
we
there.
mobilize the grassroots in because you got
And I hate to say, so and so is here. Really, the Montgomery Prattville area generally is pretty wide open right now.
It is the beauty of the Montgomery Prattville area, especially when you get up to Wetumpka and Millbrook, and that area is fairly conservative. So while I was in the legislature, the Tea Party, was kind of the Wetumpka area.
Yeah, it was.
So while I was in the legislature, I was that really, really conservative. So a lot of their local legislators support me now. Guys that I served or either prior served with have endorsed me or come out support.
Well, let me just say this: like people tell me all the time, I've got the face for radio. You got the face for politics. You need to get your face out there more, maybe, because you're sharp.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And the women do vote.
You think so?
Yeah.
Ask
Ron Reagan.
Oh, yes, sir. He turned them out. Yeah, we are.
I mean, it's the truth. They want to know how you look, and,
That's
and
right.
You're going out to over 1 billion people this morning. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
On
That was
Facebook.
remarkable.
On Facebook, there are 2 billion subscribers to Facebook, and we're coming to you live from our studios in Troy, Alabama. Today in LA is live on Facebook, again, hey, Facebook, let's just say 1 billion of those folks watch our show. But I'm being facetious. But at the same time, there's a lot of coverage out there where people can go to TC, Troy Cable 2, and watch this show today, tomorrow, whenever,
I'll make sure we're going to share it. Like I said, we've got we're leading the pack on social media. We got, I think, 9,500 on our Facebook page. So we'll make sure we share
All right,
this.
Coleman's from Dothan. You're from Enterprise. And, of course,
Troy is from where?
Troy's from Elba.
Yeah, from Elba, originally lives in Montgomery.
Yeah, that's right.
He went to Troy.
Exactly. And
It's quite a field, but this
with
is
so many people running, you need to
step out from the pack
will it
somehow.
just be 2 that are being run off?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that right?
Yes, sir. It's provided somebody doesn't get over 50%, which we don't see that happening in most
Now,
like
you should have brought your pretty wife on our show today.
Absolutely. Now,
Coleman's wife on his show a lot.
I sent Heather to speak with me a couple times over to Covington County in different areas, and my wife truly is a brilliant young lady. She's from Fort Payne or Sand Mountain area.
Wait a minute, you met her at Auburn?
I did, yes, sir. I met her at Auburn, and but she has spoke a couple times for me. And when she speaks, they're like, "You don't have to come back. Just send Heather. We'll vote for her." So,
well, look, if you're from Fort Payne, that means you got plenty of socks.
that's right. The sock capital of the world at one time.
But people don't realize that people were making a living in the basement of their homes. Many people. That was a good example of how you could make a living if you just went out and worked,
Yeah, my wife's uncle had a sock mill for years up in Fort Payne. So
I'm being facetious this morning about that, but and of course, it's the 3rd.
Yes, sir. March 3rd, 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today, and
Let me ask you, how familiar are you with the Troy area, growing up nearby in Enterprise? You got to be impressed by the growth of the university and some of our homegrown industries, like where you see that Wiley Sanders truck over there, and Lockheed Martin, Kimber is coming to town.
I heard they were coming. I'm excited about that.
they're already in town.
Yeah, they're in town.
Open for business, yeah.
I want to go tour that factory. I don't know what all kind of weapons they make, but I have to check them out.
And of course, they're out of New York and that general area. And
They're fleeing those regulations you were talking about in New York.
Of course, Martin Marietta's a pretty big outfit.
Yeah, I've heard of them too. Yes, sir. KW Plastics is a big outfit. There's a lot of big outfits up here.
And,
but Troy has grown a lot since I was in school here. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, no question.
Julius just moved down the street, though. You used to be up here, now it's down there. But I came up.
Everybody wants to know where Julius is, but also sisters,
Well, you need to push that. So you came from Enterprise High School to Troy University.
That's exactly right.
You could go to Sisters today and Julius and see a lot of
Did that? I had a remarkable meeting. I did a lunch at Julius a few weeks ago.
I heard about that.
And then I did a breakfast down here the other morning at a couple of the local restaurants. Just people taking me around. But Julius was a great time. We had a turnout. Met a lot of wonderful. I think there was an old Sunday school class or class there.
Again, you got to get out in front of the people.
Yes, sir.
But Barry Moore.
Well, I got a question, Mike.
Listen to this. Will Matthews is a perfect example of name recognition. You've been, is that right, Will? Well, we lost him.
Let me ask, is it harder to get your message out, or do you see the media giving as much coverage, in-depth, proper coverage to these races as they used to? I'm an old newspaper man. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't see the in-depth stories on congressional races or the forums where you can talk for an hour or two. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Well, we're doing a lot of forums and having never ran, so I can't say for sure if this is out of the norm or not, but I know that I'll be tonight, I'm at the Cattlemen's in Montgomery today, I'm at a conservative roundtable, so, I mean, there's still a lot of opportunity, but the media doesn't seem to cover the races. We kind of have to prod them along, hey, we'd like for you to cover this deal or that, and so there's been some coverage. I think they need more sensationalism, If you go negative and start, then they'll show up. But if it's just a good clean race, it may be.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to laugh at me when I say this. On the ballot, do you know where you're going to be on the ballot? First, second, third, fourth? What are you going to be?
I think I am. The race is about third or fourth.
It's not alphabetical order, though, is it?
Yes, sir, it is.
Oh, it is? Okay, I got
so I'll be about third on that ballot, I think.
You know what I'm talking about? Some people say just bang, 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 bang.
Right. I hope they don't do that this time.
I hope
because I'm about midway on that second or third bang.
Mike, wasn't it Judge Crawley from Troy that ran for some state judgeship, appellate judge, did no campaigning, just paid the qualifying fee, just got on the ballot, and he won.
Yeah, name recognition, and Barry Moore.
Because he was first on the ballot, and people liked it.
University of Alabama quarterback.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, don't you feel like being an Auburn guy is going to help you a little bit?
I don't know. Sometimes it hurts you. It just depends on.
It'll help Tuberville, won't it?
Yes, sir. It will with the name ID. Everybody knows who he is. Love him or hate him, everybody knows who he is.
Let me throw that back at you a little bit. What do you think about Tuberville and politics?
Well, he is certainly an outsider. I've talked with him a couple times. He actually came by a tailgate we were having, and he talks pretty conservative. I mean, he talks like a guy that
tremendous name recognition.
Yeah, great name ID.
And it really means so much,
Yeah, and the thing was, I had so many friends in that race. Yeah. I early on, I just had to kind of step back, but Tuberville has an interesting dynamic, and I think that because he's saying the right things, it's going to be interesting to see between him and Bradley Byrne who makes the runoff.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself. What are some of the things you enjoy doing on your free time?
Fishing. I love to fish, and I
Wait a minute. You look like Bill Dance.
Yeah, I used to watch Bill dance all the time.
Hello, folks. I'm Bill Dance.
Yes, sir. I used to watch Bill.
And I wear that Tennessee Volunteers hat.
Have you ever watched his bloopers? They're better than his show ever was. Bill Dance bloopers are hilarious.
But isn't it amazing how popular he got just by sitting in a boat advertising some lure?
That's right. That's exactly right. And like I said, his bloopers to me were the greatest.
Very important, and I've got a ton of friends in Enterprise. You feel like you'll take Enterprise?
Oh yes, sir. We're going to do well in golf. Last time, remember now, I ran against.
That's
Roby.
A lot of voters down there.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember the $2 million that Judge Matthews was talking about?
Yeah.
I ran against Martha Roby. Trump team called me the night that she pulled her support when Access Hollywood came out and said she was going to ride in Pence against Hillary.
Yeah.
And they said, you got to get in this race. We got to have. I was like, she has $2 million, guys. I'm done with politics. And they're like, you need to run. So last time we ran against Bobby Bryant, who was a former congressman.
Yeah.
Martha Roby spent $2 million incumbent, and we still got 20,000. We got 20% of the vote, so we haven't lost any of that vote. See, so I took a 20,000 vote lead into this race, and so what we're doing is just building on that. And
what I'm saying too, you and Coleman are both Wiregrass people,
yes.
And the people above the Wiregrass, would it be Troy King, or who would it be?
Well, he's got the name recognition, though. Troy does.
Troy's got some name ID, and but he has. I think Troy. He's got about the day he announced is kind of where I think he peaked. We're kind of ours is a little different. We're moving mom told faster than anybody because we've stayed positive on message, and we're just fixing to do our media buys. See, I didn't want to spend money before the holidays.
Put some on Troy Cable and reach all these counties.
I'm sure we are because we're doing the buys right now. We've got an I've done an ad that I'm really excited about, and a veterans ad because of me being the only veteran, and so we've got some things we're going to be doing going forward. But I like I said, with Tumpka Pratt, we've been up there a good bit. That's a huge. You don't realize it, guys, but if you take Montgomery's pretty good voting, but if you take with Tumpka, Prattville, Millbrook area, that
outweighs Republican voters.
That outweighs all of that other
right.
voting area. And Houston County's big, but Coffee County's fifth. So we feel like we're going to hold our 20,000, gain a lot in the northern part of the state, and make this runoff, the northern part of the district.
Exactly right. Ladies and gentlemen, Barry Moore.
And I think Mike, I'm sorry, I interrupted, but just now I think everybody's going to start turning their attention to these races. We got a fantastic congressional race, and the Senate race has kind of been under the radar for some reason, but I think in the last couple of weeks, people are going to start talking about it.
Tell us again why you should be the man to represent our area.
Well, I say this, and this is kind of the 3-minute, 2-minute stump speech, whatever it is. It's 2020. It's hindsight, guys. Politicians all the time promise us they're going to do this, or this. But all I say is look at Barry Moore's history. It's the most dependable conservative vote in the Alabama legislature. The only veteran in the race. I was with President Trump when he was just a candidate and needed my support. I was a Trump delegate.
Doesn't hurt to be Trump's friend, does it?
No, sir. I was a good friend of his, and the thing is, he knows me. Introductions.
He remembers that.
Introductions will not be required. I've been with him 4 times. My daughter just finished a 6-month internship at the White House, and I taught his deputy policy director Sunday school. So we have a lot of ties to the White House, and that helps our district. He knows when I go to him, he can trust me.
Now, you say you're a veteran. Give us a little bit of your military background.
I served in the Army National Guard. I was on the Ranger Challenge team when I was at Auburn. I drilled 1133rd Medevac at Danley Field. Did my 6 years. My brother's retired Marine. My granddaddy served in Korea. My son-in-law is an Army Ranger with 82nd Airborne. So we have a lot of ties to the military. And most of my friends' fathers growing up were Vietnam-era pilots because of Fort Rucker being in close proximity to my home.
No question about it.
So we have a lot of ties. And that's one thing, it's a big part of this district is veterans. And so I am the only veteran in the race. And when I chaired Military and Veterans Affairs, I did more for our veterans than anybody in that class of 2010.
Yeah. Well, I know this, that this is going down the stretch, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. 14 days I have to stand on my head.
Yeah. Do you feel good?
I really do.
You feel confident?
Yes, sir. We're hearing wonderful things, and that's the thing. We know we got the momentum right now, and we're peaking at the right time because our momentum is grassroots and it's been building, and we're just doing our buys in the media. So like I said, we had a 20,000 vote lead today. The day Martha said she wasn't running again.
Yeah. Good friend of mine, Benny. I'm not going to speaks very highly of you.
Well, good.
I'm not going to throw the name out right now, but Barry Moore, ladies and gentlemen, for Congress, and it's going to be a tough race, but the key is to get out and vote. Is that right?
That's right. Get people out to vote. I think in a primary, and that's one thing I do appreciate, is usually they're a little more educated voters, so they know a little bit about who they're voting for more often than not. It's not like a general election. So if we get our people out and hope and pray they will show up, I feel like we will March 3rd, that we'll make the runoff, and then our grassroots should be able to finish the game for us to get us in the general.
Right. What is your motto?
Well, faith, family, finance, and freedom. That's kind of, if you ask me, that's how I always govern. It's faith first, then local families, and then finance.
No question about it. And now, money talks down the stretch. Are you going to be able to compete?
Yes, sir. We're second with cash on hand, and so in the race out of 7 candidates, and we're second in spending right now, but we were number 1 in name ID coming into it. So, and I think we're certainly number 1 grassroots, and so. I think a combination of those things, you'll see our ads going up. We're excited about the I've Done It ads. We haven't slung any mud. We've just been positive because the fact that I was a Trump delegate, a veteran, those things, we can talk about our record.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen,
1 minute.
We've got 1 minute down the stretch, and of course, Barry, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate the
You're
invitation.
welcome.
Yeah,
Good
nice to meet you, Barry.
Good to meet you, gentlemen.
And talk with us, anytime. And
Okay.
of course, this is Today in L.A. with Barry Moore, who's running for Congress, and you've been there and done that. I mean, this is not your first hayride.
No, sir. Basically, the Montgomery, the governance process is just a microcosm of what you see in D.C.
I'll tell you this, is that I know enough political science that when you don't have these open races that often where the incumbent steps aside, and so then you see some big, powerful, good candidates like Barry coming in, and then if you win, then you get that name recognition. There's a good chance that, I don't know if you'll have term limits this time, but you can end up in that office for a long time.
Well, I did sign a term limits pledge for Congress. I don't want to make a career out of it, but I know you need to be there long enough to get some work done, and so we're going to do what we can and do as the Lord leads. We'll stay as long as we feel led, but I don't figure it'll be a career for me. It wasn't in
Hope
Alabama.
you've enjoyed our show, and we appreciate our sponsors that we were able to give Barry plenty of time here to talk this morning about his candidacy. And again, my brother, good luck to you.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate y'all having me.
Hope, of course, the show comes back on again at 1:30 till 3 o'clock today. So if you missed it, you can see it again today. Go.
I hope Barry lets all his supporters know so they can watch us at.
Or go to Facebook, TC2. T as in
Troy Cable.
Troy, C as in cable, 2 as
and then
channel 2.
Is it .com? TC2.
So I hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, but today in LA.